The national unemployment rate dropped to 8.1%, but the bad news of that is this is mostly because people have continued to drop out. They stop looking for jobs. In Pennsylvania, we're up to 7.9%. Is there any good news in these numbers at all?
Well, I see some good news in what our numbers are. Hopefully, our August numbers will come out in about another week, so we'll have a better idea. Might be the end of this week, beginning of next week, so we'll better have an idea where we went. Where we are seeing improvement in the numbers is in the Marcellus region and natural gas, where we are getting a lot more jobs. And where we're seeing movement of numbers is increase in private sector, decrease in public sector jobs. I'm hoping that we can move the public sector people who are moving out of those positions over into the private sector.
And how are we getting to grow the private sector jobs? What's being done to make that happen?
Well, first off, in the natural gas industry, that's number one growth right now. These companies are coming in, and they are establishing their presence. We could talk about the Shell cracker facility again, and that continues to be on track. Let's talk about saving jobs with the refineries in the Philadelphia region. We saved over 1,000 jobs direct, and there's a multiplier to that, I'm told, of 7 indirect, and then another couple when you talk about related, distantly related, that would have been on the unemployment rolls by this point in time. But, we're starting to see a tick up in interest in Pennsylvania, other companies coming in to Pennsylvania. I've been into the Lehigh Valley. We've done some groundbreakings there. We've done some ribbon cuttings in that area where they're adding workforce to the Lehigh Valley. Same thing in southwestern Pennsylvania a little bit. So it is starting to spur it up. But the way we do that is try and give a level playing field to the business community, keep our taxes under control, or actually, if we can, reduce the business tax. We have the second highest business tax burden in the country.
9.99%, the CNI.
Right.
Yeah.
And everybody says, well, you should tax them more. Well, wait a second. They're the ones that provide the jobs. I'd rather have somebody in the private sector than in the public sector if we can, because the public sector is being paid for by the public. And, we need to try and reduce our public workforce if we can and grow the private sector workforce.
Your Manufacturing Advisory Council issued its report, about 15 recommendations, I think, in that. What do you do? I mean, I know you don't want this thing to sit on a shelf now and gather dust.
No.
So what do you do?
We are already we are looking at it just as we are the transportation. There'll be some things we can do with the transportation, and if economic times get better, even more things. But with the Manufacturing Advisory Council, we are taking a look at that. If you've read that, a lot of that has to do with education. We've got to create a workforce.
Education and training.
There's a skills gap. What's the skills gap it's talking
about?
Well,
the one skills gap that is growing is in the trades, carpentry, plumbing, electricity. 25% of that population that's in the trades is 55 or older. Now, if you take that number, if I'm a young person and I'm looking for a job, okay, that's the place. Yeah, is it work? Yeah, it is. Are you going to break a sweat? Yes, you are. But you get paid pretty well.
Pays very well.
Very, very well. And we've talked with the members of the various unions, and they understand it. They're working to get people into their apprenticeship programs. We need to get the high schools to start focusing back somewhat on VOTEC type things. I go back to 40 years ago, or more than 40 years ago when I was in school. We had the VOTEC. We kind of graduated away from that and started pushing everybody to college. We really need to start giving these people the skills of the 21st century, which is tremendously different in 10 years.
Is part of that changing the perception of the skilled trades in manufacturing?
I think it is part of that perception. Part of the perception is you have, all of our, not all, vast majority of our kids are growing up on computers. They're used to computers now. And there's a lot of computer jobs out there. Well, a lot of manufacturing today, you go into a manufacturing plant, you expect to see it dirty and dusty. They aren't at all, because a lot of it is totally automated. It takes people with computer skills to run that. It doesn't take a 4-year degree. It might take a 2 or 3 year degree. And we really need to start growing that.